Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Branachari Jamuna Tira Branachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajaka Sutara Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Welcome to Bhagavad Gita class, chapter 7, verse 24. Avyaktam vyaktimapanna manyante mama buddhaya parambhava majananto mama vyayam anuttamam. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhaya parambhava ajananto mama vyayam anuttamam. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhaya parambhava ajananto mama vyayam anuttamam. Avyaktam, non-manifested. Vyaktim, personality. Apannam, achieved. Manyante, think. Mam, unto me. Abuddhaya, less intelligent persons. Param, supreme. Bhavam, state of being. Ajananta, without knowing. Mama, my. Avyayam, imperishable. Anuttamam, the finest. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Unintelligent men who know me not think I have assumed this form and personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is changeless and supreme. Purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna, in his personal form, is here speaking before Arjuna, and still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord in a disciplic succession from Ramanujacharya, has written two very appropriate verses in this connection. He says, "My dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva and Narada know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities, and one can thus understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in a mode of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, they cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However expert such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it is not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead." In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by the study of Vedic literature. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can the personality of the Supreme be known. This particular verse that Prabhupada is indicating in his purport in the Brahma Samhita, it is said there, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyan Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. It is describing, Lord Brahma is describing the nature of the Supreme. First it says Advaitam, the Lord is non-dual. He cannot be split. He is always all-pervading. He is always there. He cannot be separated from his body. We are not Advaita. We have, in the material world, we have a material body and we have a material mind and senses and a material ego, which is different to our nature as spirit souls. But Krishna is not like that. He's Advaita. There is no difference between Krishna and Krishna's body. So, Advaitam Achyuta. Achyuta means that Krishna cannot fall down from his position. And there are thousands and millions of devotees who can testify that once you take shelter of Krishna, Krishna will never let you down. He can never be defeated. So, Advaitam Achyutam Anadir, he has no beginning. He is the origin of everything. There is no beginning of creation. There is no beginning of Krishna. Krishna has always existed and will forever exist. This is very difficult for our tiny minds to comprehend. How something can have no beginning? Because we're living in a world which is full of beginning, middle, and end. Everything in the material world takes birth, remains for some times, produces byproducts, dwindles and dies. Everything. We have no other experience. Therefore, to move from this material experience to the spiritual experience requires a jump in faith. But once you develop this faith, then by the mercy of Krishna, you can understand how Krishna is Achyuta. He's Anadim. He has no beginning. Anantarupam. He has unlimited forms. Adyan is the beginning of everything. Purana is the oldest. Navayovanancha, but he is also eternally youthful. If you see a picture of Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he looks like a 16-year-old boy. In fact, at that time on the battle of Kurukshetra, he was no less than 120 years old. He already had great-grandsons. but he doesn't look a day older than 16. This is called Nava Yovana. Krishna doesn't become old. This is the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. When you live in the spiritual world, you don't become old. Old age, disease, and death and rebirth are only within the material environment. Persons who are under the impression that the absolute truth is impersonal are described as asuras, which means one who does not know the ultimate feature of the absolute truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized supersoul. But the ultimate word in the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yagyanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. Those who are tattva vidas, those who know the truth, describe the Supreme Lord as Brahman, impersonal effulgence, Paramatma, localized supersoul, or conscious within every heart and atom, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. Modern impersonalists are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their own great predecessor, Shankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonalists, therefore, not knowing the supreme truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, or a prince or a powerful personality. This is also condemned in Bhagavad Gita. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person. The fact is that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. The Gita confirms this. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, or his form, quality, and name simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then only can one understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of the material nature and that all his activities, his forms and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadis. They do not know the ultimate truth. The 20th verse clearly states, those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. It is accepted that besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are demigods also who have their different planets, Bhagavad Gita 7:23. And the Lord also has a planet. It is stated in the worship that the worshippers of the demigods go to the different planets of the demigods, and those who are devotees of the Lord go to the Krishna Loka planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless and that these forms are impositions. From the study of the Gita, it appears that the demigods and their bodies are impersonal, and their abodes. From the study of the Gita, does it appear that the demigods and their abodes are impersonal? Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are impersonal. They are all persons. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and the demigods have theirs. Therefore, the monistic contention that ultimate truth is formless and that form is imposed does not hold true. It is clearly stated here that it is not imposed. From the Gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the forms of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing, and that the Lord is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal blissful knowledge. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Absolute Truth is Anandamaya, or full of blissful pleasure, and that he is abhyasat, by nature the reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is aja, unborn, he still appears. These are the facts that we should understand from the Gita. We cannot understand how the Supreme Person of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of impersonalism monism is false as far as the statements of the Bhagavad Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyate mama buddhayaha param bhava majananto mam avyayam anuttamam. So this is Krishna. You want to know Krishna? He explains himself in the Bhagavad Gita very, very clearly. But you have to accept the Bhagavad Gita as it is. It cannot be changed, cannot be interpreted, because then the message is spoiled. The message is the Bhagavad Gita, it is, and the Srimad Bhagavatam are considered to be the ripened fruit of knowledge. Just like this, Prabhupada gives the example that in India, when the mango season is in full bloom, when they pick the mangoes, they have to be very careful that the mango doesn't get crushed or banged. Otherwise, it will become spoiled. So they pick the mango from the top of the branch, and then they hand it down to a person who is also in the tree on the lower branch to the lower branch until it comes to the ground. It is hand by hand, it is handed down. So transcendental knowledge is the same. It is given by Krishna in the system of called parampara. The system of parampara is the same as handing down this mango very carefully from the top of the tree to the ground. It is the knowledge is handed down by the teacher to his student, to the guru, to his student, and in this way it is called parampara. Evam parampara praptam. Krishna said, this is Krishna speaking on the 4th chapter. He says, you get this knowledge, praptam. How do you get it? Eva parampara praptam. Praptam, you receive this knowledge by the process of parampara. Imam rajasayu viduhu. This is the way this knowledge was handed down by the great sages and the great saintly persons. Sakalaneya mahata yoga nashta parantapa. But with the passing of time, this great knowledge has become corrupted, has become lost. And therefore I am telling it again to you. Sa evayam mayate dya yoga prokta sanatana. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna that on this very day I am explaining this knowledge to you. Yoga prokta, the knowledge of connection with me. Yoga means to connect with God. All knowledge is meant to connect us with Krishna. Why is that? Because we are eternally connected with Krishna. Our real nature is eternally connected to Krishna's nature. We are his eternal servants. We are his eternal friends. Krishna is our eternal father, our eternal benefactor, our eternal teacher. We are part of Krishna, just like my arm is part, my hand is part of my body. My hand is useful as long as it stays connected to the body. It is not independent of the body. So in the same way, we are useful as long as we stay connected with Krishna. So in this verse of the Brahma Samhita that I was quoting, Advaita Machutam, it is concluded, Vedeshu durlabham, adurlabham atma bhakto, that through the process of the Vedas, it is not easy to understand Krishna. As I explained many times in these classes, the purpose of the Vedas is to offer facilities, to offer guidelines to the living entities who have come to enjoy the material world. Therefore, in the Vedas, you will find instructions on how to enjoy the material world, but at the same time, not to create chaos for yourself and for others. How to enjoy the material world and remain more or less in the mode of goodness, not to exploit the world, not to exploit others. So that we, by practicing our duties in the material world, we progress towards spiritual realization. We don't become more and more entangled in sinful activities and go down to the lower forms of life. After all, if you look around, there is millions and millions of forms of life. According to the Vedas, 8,400,000 species of life are there. 8,400,000 types of bodies, which reflect the mentality of the living entity. According to our bhava, our mentality, we take birth in one of these species. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam, whatever tyajate ante kalevaram. When we give up our body, ante kalevaram means at the end of the body, whatever bhava we have, tadeva bhava bhavita, we go to whatever bhava means, whatever consciousness we have, it is reflected by one of these 8,400,000 species of life. And according to our mentality and according to the results of our activities, we take another birth. So if we act and if we develop a nature which is in conjunction with the instructions of the Vedas, then we don't go down the evolutionary scale, we go up towards the demigods. So in the Vedas, it is difficult to understand Krishna because the Vedas deal with the modes, with the activities within the material nature. People don't come to the material world to understand God. People come into the material world to enjoy the senses. So the Vedas are saying, all right, this is how you enjoy the senses. It's just like when you go to the prison. If you are put into prison, the prison has its own rules and regulations. The laws of the prison. When you go to sleep, when you get up, what your activities are, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. It is very strictly regulated by their own laws. The outside laws are also there, but they are not so important. When you're in prison, the prison laws take precedence. So similarly, when you're in the material world, the laws of the material world take precedence over the universal laws. The universal law is that I am an eternal servant of God. That my business is to go back home, back to Godhead. But you won't find that within the Vedas, because that is not the business of the living entities living in the material world. The only people in the material world who have any understanding of God and their relationship with God are the devotees. So, Vedeshu Durlabham, Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. Although it is difficult to understand God in the Vedas, it is very easy to understand him in the heart of a devotee. Durlabham is difficult. So Vedeshu, within the Vedas, Durlabham, very difficult to understand. Dura means very difficult. Adurlabha, but very easy. Where? Atma Bhakto. And this is the example of Srila Prabhupada. Before Srila Prabhupada came to the West, there was no understanding of Krishna. People simply thought Krishna was some Hindu god out of many, many gods. But Prabhupada put the knowledge on the table. No, you're all eternal servant of Krishna. And by his mercy only, by his example, by his intercedence, we were able to understand Krishna. Actually, speaking for myself, I have no qualities to understand Krishna. I only began to hear about Krishna when I was already in my youth, 30 years old. I had no desire to know about God. I was simply trying to not become too frustrated with the material world. But I had no understanding of God. Nor did I have any assets. Nor did I have any piety. I was simply enjoying life and exploiting the material energy to the best of my abilities. In every situation, the formula was, how do I get enjoyment? What is my profit? So this kind of attitude is not conducive to understanding our relationship with God. But by the mercy of Prabhupada, because Prabhupada's desire that people in the West understand the relationship with Krishna, Krishna has blessed us. We don't deserve the blessing. But Prabhupada, by his interceding, Krishna has blessed us. So this is the system. So Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. It is very easy to understand God within the heart of a devotee. Why? Because the devotee is connected with Krishna in a bond of love. And that bond of love is very, very strong. It is eternal. So when such a devotee intercedes to Krishna, that I have this student, I have this disciple, Krishna, you please bless him. Krishna is automatically ready to bless such a candidate. The candidate may not be qualified, but the bhakta, the devotee, the pure devotee of Krishna, he's qualified, and by his qualification, we become qualified. So we have to be very, very careful that if we want to make progress in spiritual life, we take advantage of Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Don't change his instructions. Don't manufacture something new. Simply follow what he says. That is, he has left us plenty of knowledge, no shortage of knowledge. So if we take advantage, then our path back home, back to Godhead, will be very easy. Even within this body, even within this material existence, we will become liberated. We will know. It is just like when you're lost in a forest. If you're lost in the forest, you don't know which way to go. You could go east, west, north, but you have no guarantee it's the right way. But if you find the right path, even you may be in the deepest forest, if you know that this is the right path, then you become free from anxiety because you know you're going in the right direction. So, are there any comments or any questions? So Atmavidya Prabhu is here, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Filippo is here, Madhu Mangala, Anuja Mishra, Hare Krishna, all of you. So this verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada speaks about impersonalism. So let's say a few words about impersonalism. Impersonalism is the philosophy of Mayavada. Mayavada. Maya means illusion, and Vada means the path or the proposal, the philosophy. And it is very popular in India, and it is very popular in the West, because it proposes that everybody is God. That when God comes into the material world in this form as Krishna or Rama or Vishnu or Nrsimha, he takes a material form. And that we also take a material form. And when we get rid of this material form, then we become God. Therefore, we can do whatever we want. It is a very good philosophy to avoid responsibility. But if you want responsibility to go back home, back to God, then you have to follow Krishna's instructions. It is very, very important. And Krishna says, Ajo Pisan, even though I am unborn, Avyayatma, even though my form never changes, Bhutanam Ishvaro Pisan, Api, although I am the controller of all living entity, Aham Swam Avashtabhya Sambhavami Yuga Yuga. Notwithstanding these things, I come Yuga Yuga, millennium after millennium. Krishna comes into the material world to show us his pastimes, because by listening to Krishna, by listening to Krishna's pastimes, even an impersonalist can become cured. Before I met Srila Prabhupada, I was a proper impersonalist. I wasn't an atheist because I believed in God. But I believed I could do whatever I wanted. I believed that I could do whatever I wanted as long as I followed some moral principles, then I would make progress. In other words, I believed I was the independent author, a Mayavadi. I believed that everything is illusion, so I might as well do whatever I want. But Krishna says that he comes to show his different pastimes, his different leelas, so that we become attracted. Everybody has an interest in history. Everybody has an interest in a superior person. We worship different personalities, politicians, actors, sportsmen. We have a tendency to glorify others because we want to become glorified ourselves. So when we listen to Krishna's pastimes, then in the beginning we also have an interest to become like Krishna. But what happens when you hear Krishna's pastimes from a bona fide source, you become purified. It's just like when you go into the sunlight, you become clean, you become purified by the sun. No matter how contaminated you may be, you cannot contaminate the sun. The sun will always purify anything contaminated, and the sun itself will not become contaminated. That is called anavridam apapavidam. God cannot be attacked by any inauspicious or any sinful activity, nor can anything which is impure come next to God and remain impure. No, it becomes purified, just like the sun, but much, much more. So by hearing Krishna's pastimes, we become attracted, we become purified. And this purification is that slowly the ignorance within our heart, we begin to examine this ignorance. We begin to understand our relationship with Krishna begins to manifest within the heart. And then we want more of this. We feel the pleasure of our transcendental life. We feel that we have something better than what the material world has to offer. Therefore, we then become willing to pay the price to get this. And the price has become very easy. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, we can become free from all material contamination. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. The process of chanting cleans the heart and gives us the impetus, gives us a desire to go further. Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. We can feel that the fire of material life becomes extinguished. The more we chant, we become free from anxiety. Chetodarpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. It is like when you are dirty and hot in the summertime, it is humid, and you go and you take a cool shower or you bathe in the river, you feel so clean, you feel so invigorated. So, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Or when you go in the moonlight in the summertime and you feel the blessed rays of the moon, you feel cool, you feel purified. So the chanting of the holy name gives you the same feeling. Vidyavadu Jivanam, it is the life and soul of everything. You understand that this chanting of the holy name makes me understand what is my relationship with Krishna. There is nothing better. It is the life and soul of my existence. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. It increases your happiness. Pratipadam, at every step, Purna Amrita Swadanam. It is full of nectar. And this is a great gift given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to this planet, Krishna himself in the form of his devotee, to teach us the perfect religious principle which is most suited for the age in which we live. It is beyond the Vedas and very easy to practice. So, chant Hare Krishna, be happy. If you have any questions, please type them in. Otherwise, we'll see you day after tomorrow on Friday. Thank you very much. Haribol.